Home Store.
If you are waking up on this Monday morning, not looking so forward to the work week, dreaming of the weekend, and one day being able to have the chance to retire, you are in luck this morning because Rick Hughes is on the show. He is with Hughes Retirement Group. Nice to see you.
Thank you, Julie. Glad to be here.
We had the pleasure of talking with your son Granger last Monday. He gave us some really good tips about thinking ahead to those retirement years and how you need to be adjusting perhaps for your tax bracket.
Yes.
And making sure you know what to expect. Knowledge is key to success, I would think, right?
Well, it is. You know, if you think about it, when we're younger and we get a job and we're really thinking about working, maybe we have a family and you have all types of activities, but very few people really think about retirement. Now, if you're fortunate and you have a 401k or some type of retirement plan through your employer, that's wonderful. But you need to begin to think about strategies because all of a sudden, one day you're going to wake up and you're going to be in your mid-50s, maybe even 60s, and think, hey, I'm getting ready to retire. What do I have in my retirement bucket?
It's interesting that you should throw out that age bracket, however, because I was going to follow up and say to you that retirement, maybe more than ever before, looks so different for each of us. There are some people who are realizing and thinking, you know what, I don't think I want to retire.
True.
I just want to have the ability financially to retire when I'm ready.
There you go. I mean, you want to have that option. I had a client last week in our office. He had originally told us he wanted to retire at 70. He came back in the office and said, Rick, what if I wanted to retire next year? I'm not saying I do, but what if I wanted to do it? Would I have the resources to be able to do it? And when we're planning retirement, when we sit down with folks, we're planning to age 95.
Right, okay.
And I get a lot of people that'll give us a strange look and say, I'll never live that long. And I say, what if you do? Because if you do, you want to make sure the money's there. And if you don't, I always say, somebody else get your stuff.
Right. So I was telling Granger, part of what you do is financial expertise. Part of what you do, I would think, is a bit psychology and counselor, because you have to really know the personality of each of your clients.
You do. I mean, everyone's different. It's not a cookie cutter. And when we sit down with someone, there's a couple key ingredients. What age do you want to retire? And how much net income do you need in retirement? You also need to be thinking about retirement dreams. People want to maybe build a vacation home. Maybe they want to move to another location, travel the world, whatever it is. We've got to have resources to do that.
Okay, so let's talk about those resources. One would be your assets, right? So if your home is paid off, that's an asset.
Yes.
If you do have the 401k that you're talking about, that's an asset. Is it wise for people to be thinking about Social Security still, Rick, as a source of income?
Well, I think most people are going to. Social Security is in trouble. You know, the CBO, Congressional Budget Office, tells us in 2034, for every dollar you earn, they're going to reduce you to 75 cents. That's a 25% pay cut. Now, will that happen? We don't know. It's in the hands of the politicians. But the way it's funded right now, it will happen unless they take action to rebuild that.
So does that mean if you're watching the show this morning and you are maybe 65, thinking to retire next year at 66, is that possible that change, not to make you put your politician's hat on, but could that change impact you, or would you be grandfathered in, so to speak?
Well, typically you're grandfathered in.
Okay.
But I always say when you put it in the politicians' hands, obviously they can do what they want. But most of the time, if there are changes, it's typically a grandfather. So hopefully that would be the case. I don't want to scare anybody by any means.
Right.
Again, that's what the CBO has indicated.
Okay, so you mentioned hopefully you have a job where you have a pension plan or a 401k. Maybe someone watching today doesn't have that. What are some things they could start to do now to give themselves some control to have an income from their savings? You
know, it's never too late to start. Obviously, the earlier the better. So if you don't have a 401k, you may want to begin your own traditional IRA, putting so much money in a week or a month, however you get paid, in order to fund this. Possibly you want to do a Roth IRA. Obviously, there's some income limitations and so forth there. But again, it's kind of taking the bull by the horns and making sure that you are trying to take care of yourself and not relying on the government to take care of you in retirement.
Are you still not that you have been before, but do you think people are still looking to have their home paid for by the time they retire? Or with interest rates being so low, if you've recently refinanced, is that as critical?
Well, ideally, I would always say, if at all possible, when you go to retire, to have that home paid for. Okay. Now, there are people out there that do not, so we're not criticizing anybody in that situation. You are correct. Interest rates are lower, so that's good. But it'd be nice to go into retirement and not have a house payment or car payments. You know, those are two things that most people are used to.
Right.
So, you know, if I'm giving advice on that, yes, I would want those paid off at that point in time.
Okay, let's say that I'll pepper you with questions. Let's say that you're looking forward to retiring. You kind of know what your Social Security draw ought to be, unless things change.
Correct.
But you're not so sure you want to just spend all day, every day, pulling weeds out of your garden, and you want to get a part-time job. Does that part-time money take away from what you can draw from Social Security?
Once you reach full retirement age, whatever that may be for you, you can earn as much money as you want. Before full retirement age, yes, it could affect you because there's a limitation of how much you can make. But that full retirement age will protect you in that area.
And that right now is what? What is the full retirement
Well,
age?
it depends on what year you were born, but we're dealing with people basically at 66 right now.
Okay.
It could be 66 in 2 months or 4 months.
Okay, so for a lot of people, they are prepared. They feel they're prepared, and they've got a good bit of money in stock. If you're drawing dividends, that means that stock is going to earn you money as opposed to the stock growing in value, correct?
Yes.
If you have a lot of money in the stock market, though, and we hit another low spot, can you afford to take a loss if you are 63 years old?
Well, let's look back at 2008. If you're 63 years of age and you lost 40 to 50% of your portfolio, which a lot of folks did out there, you don't have time on your side. That's why I think it's important to have different income stream options. So we're counting on Social Security. If you're fortunate enough to have a pension, you're counting on that. You may have some type of an annuity, a lifetime income annuity, and you may be drawing from your stock. And what I would say there, as you get older, you need to dial back the risk. You know, when we're in our 30s, 40s, maybe even early 50s, maybe we're being aggressive because we're trying to accumulate as much as possible. But when we go into retirement, you can't afford to take that 30 to 50% hit. So again, you might reallocate and be more in a 40-60 blend, meaning 40% in equities and 60% in bonds or fixed income.
And if you like annuities, do you like a variable annuity or a fixed annuity?
Well, I mean, there's all sorts of annuities out there. Variable annuities typically have higher fees. Personally, I think fixed indexed annuities are very good. You can get a fixed indexed annuity with some companies that have no fees and that can get you lifetime income if that's something that you choose. So think of that as being like Social Security. You are expecting to get that Social Security check till the day you die. Now, obviously, we don't know what's going to happen with the government in that situation. But that'd be the same thing as lifetime income in a fixed indexed annuity. So a fixed indexed annuity, you're linked or tied to an index such as the S&P 500. So if that index goes up, you get part of the credit on that. You won't get all of it, okay? But what protects you, let's say we had a 2008, you, again, none of your account would go down. You have a floor. Zero is your hero, in other words.
Okay, and in terms of the taxes, I want you to touch on that again for folks just real quickly, because if you have an income right now of $100,000 a year, you're in a certain tax bracket. But when you retire in 5 years, if now you either drop in income or you bump up because you're going to be collecting on those dividends, you got to be prepared for that tax bracket to switch.
Here's what I would always tell people or ask people: do you believe taxes are on sale today, or do you think taxes are going to have to go up in the future? Now, here's what we say. We do a lot of classes where we teach on this. We're close to $30 trillion in debt in this country. What a lot of people don't know, we're $162 trillion in unfunded liabilities, meaning Medicare and Social Security, which I'm not on right now, and I assume you're not on, but you are anticipating on being on those. Those are unfunded. So if you begin to look at where we are debt-wise, and I was always raised that there's nothing free in this world, we're going to have to pay. So the best way for the government to collect that money is through taxes. So you may want to begin to start looking at Roth conversions is a possibility. We're not saying that's for everyone. That's where a discussion needs to occur. You're either going to pay the taxes now or pay them at the end. So ask yourself this question: would I rather pay taxes on the seed or pay taxes on the harvest?
All right. The classes, are you still holding those now?
Still holding those. Actually holding one Monday night at the Colonnade. And right now we're holding those at the Colonnade and also at Tennessee Wesleyan University.
Okay, so you can call and find out more about that. You can also call Hughes Retirement Group today because y'all are kind of offering a special offer, right?
Yeah, we are. For the first 5 callers that have a portfolio of $250,000 or more, we'll be more than glad to give you a complimentary full-blown retirement plan. So you can sit down with myself or my team, and we'll be more than glad to analyze and kind of see where you stand at this point in time.
Okay.
So you would need to call us at 423-460-8857. 423-460-8857. We'll be more glad to do that for you.
It is such a pleasure talking to you this morning. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I think I better get cracking. Retirement's not too far away. We're back after this.
The Voice